Francisco. Biggest difference all series long, though, has been Violet Zen, and the extra damage is provided. Also, the punishment on the gesture with the Discord Orb. So that'll be an early pickoff from Striker here on the Fitz.
And Custer mentioned it on the desk sort of before the game, is that we were expecting the Widowmakers to really make headlines in this metagame, but it's been the Hanzos to find the lion's share of these kills in so many of these maps. Prophet, Striker, both of them move around the map so much, but that's a Widow on Hanzo action, favoring the shot.
And he makes it look so easy. And that is Prophet just peeking out a sliver for a second. Headshot straight away is, I mean, just look at the amount of damage, right? Obviously, the shot control the high ground with how Gibraltar is as a map. But look at this. I mean, the Striker up to 60% on his ultimate, Prophet at 15, on 60%. Fitz now, jumps up a little bit, but the amount of damage coming out from the Shock snipers being able to control the high ground with the way Gibraltar is at the start, it's been pretty difficult for Seoul Dynasty to even get like what you kind of traditionally call a team fight.
Keeping an eye on the health bars, you'll see that both Fitz and Prophet take a couple glancing blows there. It's enough to be healed up, but it still slows the Dynasty down. That's an accretion connection on Striker, but based on where he's set up, he's just safe. Going to be healed up and able to clamber back into position. There's the trade, though. Gesture goes down, and a resurrect here. That is a risky res from Toby, but they bring... No, they don't. Shoykoben shuts him down.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a much better trade. Like, you'll give up your Hanzo to take out the other team's Roadhog if you cannot get the res. Toby in a difficult position knows he needs to try and bring back Gesture, but not in a position to do so. And now Fitz, he'll win the Widowmaker battle. See if they can get anything out of it, though.
Well, Toby has just rejoined them, so that's also plenty of time for Arntz to reinforce. You can see him through the door in wireframe returning. Infrasight is active, though, so Fitz will see exactly where Arntz comes from and will be able to set up in advance. Prophet gets rid of Violet there as well. Information is key, and the Dynasty are using all of it to its fullest now. Super's able to get a trade against Gesture on the card, which is impressive in and of itself, but may not mean too much as the Shock are kind of dashed here.
Yeah, it was like Choi off to the side, I believe, with Violet. Now you'll have Moth. He'll die at the hands of Marvel. Big Gravitic Flux, an accretion on the Striker at the end. And the Shock challenges, though. Violet will come out of the spawn with Choi, and he has the Transcendence. This will be walls as well from Arntz.
Gesture on the Wrecking Ball, not something we've seen so far this series. He tries to challenge Arntz out there, but somehow Arntz is able to find Prophet despite facing the scrutiny of the enemy main tank. That's a Gravitic Flux that the Dynasty would sooner forget about. Super and Arntz capitalize there on the fact that everyone is thrown to the ground. And yes, the Shock almost giving away that point, but they hold with 3, and it's a big pick from Arntz to start things off.
Yeah, Arntz with walls at the beginning, kicks off the fight, but Violet with that Transcendence keeps both tanks alive when the pile drive comes down from Gesture. Is Choi and Super were both quite low at the time. And now you put yourself in a tough position for Seoul Dynasty. You'll have the Dragon Strike, nothing really combo with it, no like Gravitic Flux. It's so dangerous when you go down to the wire like this, especially in a double sniper meta, because one thing goes wrong, right? Somebody peeks an angle and dies. It kind of spells a real bad trouble for your team. And as I mentioned, that Striker with the damage boost takes out Marvel. They'll be able to get a res, though.
Yeah, it's not just who dies, Matt, but where. In that case, it was a safe position that Toby could bring Marvel back into the fight, kind of to scrub over that mistake that was made. Violet falls to Gesture there, who seems to have gone far afield to try and find the kills, and Super is dealing with players at multiple angles. Prof for a moment studies Trick-Urban, trying to find his head, but he didn't need to. Gesture again steps up when it counts, and the Dynasty at risk of running out of gas right there and then. Now they're starting to build ahead of Steve.
We saw it a little bit from, I believe it was Fitz's POV when he was down by the Clark. They got Violet in a really difficult position. Fitz actually hits a shot onto Violet, doesn't kill him, and you can actually see Violet. Obviously, we have the ability to see the X-ray. Fitz does not, but he's just stuck in a really bad spot behind a wall. Gesture's able to get that pick off. Not able to even use a Transcendence there. Now, what could have been a final fight. So, Marvel early on. He'll use the Gravitic Flux, and I like this use early on. You guarantee a kill. This will buy you a lot of cart progress.
There's a real intangible risk here that the Shock just get completely shut out of this part of the map. Attackers have a big advantage here, and if they can move up like Prophet has done, it's so lethal for the Shock to pick any of these 4 doorways. They have to filter in one by one. Super there's hit with a Bionic Grenade. Creative, fantastic play. Not only keeps Marvel topped up, it makes it impossible for Super to heal himself.
In last map, the Shock, I know they committed to their composition
There
for
it
way
is.
too long. This map, Seoul Dynasty, they take that checkpoint B. This map so far, they've looked a bit sloppy. It seems like players just getting a little bit too far, out of position, a little bit over-aggressive, I would say. I know Super kind of in that doorway. He can't really fall back to the rest of the team the way that it's gone, but Marvel with 2 early pickoffs, right, puts him in a bad position. Then early on that point A, like I mentioned, they catch Violet off on his own. So Shock need to stabilize here. They need to get a pick. They need to get some type of defense going as Seoul Dynasty is starting to hit a stride on offense.
Right now, Prophet looking to get in position. Maybe catch Arms by surprise, and he's done so. He drops over the top of the tank there, and he finds him. It's a Sonic Arrow intended just for information, but he'll take the headshot happily. Gesture there puts Violet in such a compromising position, who has to stay behind that stack of boxes. Super himself has to go deep into enemy territory to try and slow the cart down. It works, but not for long.
Yeah, so they don't make any cart progress out of this. We'll see, though, if it pays off. This will be a Transcendence used from Violet, comes out of the spawn. I think trying to keep Choi up as they'll end up using the Transcendence to get a res on a striker.
Yeah, again, San Francisco, compromising position for them. The Dynasty have had pretty much the run of the place ever since that first checkpoint was taken. That's a kill that could slow the momentum down, though. Marvel held aloft, and Super drags him on in for a bear hug. Gesture now has to back away here, but still threat from Prophet. Dodges the hook deftly and is able to get out. There's still the risk of Gesture here on this left-hand side, but Striker wants to forge ahead.
You see they're getting aggressive, pushing them back, needs to buy themselves space here. Seoul Dynasty still has some time to work with. They'll lose Creative. They lose Gesture. They res Creative, but you're still going to have to wait. You do have the Nano Boost. You've been able to use the Nano Boost on a Gesture.
Oh, my!
Striker just goes over the wall trying to get a shot.
That's too dangerous to res.
But yeah, no, absolutely. You'll wait for him to come off the spawn. No reason to try and res in that position, but a lot of ultimates for Seoul Dynasty here to try and push it over the line.
Look where Prophet gets to play now. He was playing on that upper bridge after that pick. This is much more aggressive than he otherwise would have been. But he found the first kill, or was it Fitz that got it? The Gravitic Flux from Marvel. He goes over the top. He catches Violet here. This is dangerous now for the Zenyatta. Violet needs to try and stay alive. Prophet wants to push him to the right-hand side as well. That's a big hook on Shoyomin, and he's for dinner. As Gesture cleans him up now, gets himself a Nano Boost, the whole hog combo, pins Super up against the wall, and that card is sailing on home. There's going to be some stall attempts here, but it is really a token effort as the Shock finally stopped the Dynasty. 18 seconds on the clock.
And they finish with time in the bank. So we'll see now what San Francisco does on their offensive attack. I expect both compositions to remain the same all throughout. I think the Shock, they need to just take a little bit of a breather. I almost felt like in the Hanamura game, once they actually got past the Pharah, they kind of got... they kind of maybe stayed on it a little bit too long, the composition, and they kind of feel themselves a little bit. I almost feel the same way coming into this map, a little bit too aggressive at times, probably feeling they had a little bit more control over the series than they may actually have.
Ladies and gentlemen, show us where you're cheering from by using the hashtag #CheckMeOw and hashtag OWL2020 during today's show for a chance to see your tweets live up there on the tag board. We've seen a couple of them. Thank you for getting involved. Thank you for interacting, because we have a smorgasbord of Overwatch goodness for us right now. All that Seoul had to do on Hanamura to win it was to finish the map with some time in the bank. They've done the same here on Gibraltar. That is no mean feat. The map is long and it's treacherous, Matt.
We'll see from Fitz's POV at the end, the whole hog knocking Super back. And he knows that they're going to go for the res straight away. His headshot on a Moth puts him away, and that pretty much puts the map in Seoul Dynasty's favor. So we are going to see the Prophet Genji here.
Why? What? What's the purpose of this? Is this a risk?
They will opt to drop the double sniper to play Genji. This is something where you can definitely, Prophet is a very good Genji. You can put a little bit more pressure onto the backline. You can also play around Nano Blades. Right? Get the Transcendence out from Violet. Get more value out of your Gravitic Flux. Still, it's just a little bit odder considering how dominant the double sniper has been. Strike will be on the Ash, so not playing the Hanzo here either.
The Dynasty find another way to get value out of Creative's Nano Boost outside of just the damage reduction for Gesture, or an extra boost to his whole hog damage.
No one can.
Khan has moved up close to the end of that underpass now, and it's got a pretty early infra sight away. My God, Prophet! He reflects that one back on Striker. The egg on San Francisco. Shock space there. And now Prophet looking for the rest of the breakfast.
So, we know what type of Genji that Prophet has. It's just Genji's not the same hero as he was, a month or two ago. So we can take a look at Prophet's POV. So, was that actually not even
It might have been Violet.
Striker's shot? It looks like it was Violet's directed right back towards Striker's head. So quite unfortunate for Striker. Didn't even look like he was aiming at Prophet.
Seoul Dynasty all of a sudden invigorated, looking full of life. The San Francisco Shock, they're the ones that are being forced to try and come up with an answer to all of this, and there is a Dragon Blade for Prophet. No accompanying Nano Boost ready for it yet. We've seen what we call naked Dragon Blades in the past, but likely the Dynasty try not to take a risk there. There's a trade-in kills. Prophet for Striker. Tough to get a res on the Genji. He's always far forward, but that one was in friendly territory, and he's able to be brought back.
And you expect the Nano Blade when Creative gets this Nano. There it is.
One down. Prophet, two. The sushi set strikes. And he's looking for more. The Roadhog's going to hook him in with a biotic grenade given by Creative. Again, that is the full service package from Creative. Nano Boost supplied, healing throughout the blade. The San Francisco Shock gets sliced up.
Oh, and that is Moth with Valkyrie there, and he's actually just kind of lurking up on the bridge, trying to heal some of his teammates down by the cart. And Prophet with just a swipe takes him out. It's a no support ult now for San Francisco. Striker will switch over to the Hanzo here, so you'll ditch the Ashe. It's a Seoul Dynasty. They pull out all the stops the last two maps. They go to Hanamura, which just seemed like a crazy pick. They end up winning that. They win the Shocks map pick here. They are right back in it in a big way.
They will have taken all of the wind out of the Shock sails here. It's the second big gambit for the Dynasty in as many maps, and it's paying off so far. Super's going to be healed up briefly, and Violet's going to be able to return to the fray. And Moth falls foul of a poison mine of all things. Art's hooked in for Gesture. And the San Francisco Shock are reeling.
And they are not punishing Gesture as much as they were earlier in the series. They're doing a much better job not letting Gesture make these huge effects on the game. Now Gesture is starting to connect with these hooks, get these pickoffs. A lot like how we saw Super earlier on. Really control. And this is going to be almost impossible, Mitch. San Francisco, 20 seconds on the clock. No ultimates across the board. Walking right into a Nano Blade from Prophet.
Prophet licking his lips and sharpening the blade. Huge accretion on the high ground. That's going to rattle Striker. Still there'll be some time for San Francisco to set up. That's the Nano Boost now. Striker. Oh my God! Super gets the hook. It's traded out though. Now on the card, it's going to be the accretion over towards Gesture, and Fitz is going to sit in the background. Fights a shot towards Striker, but has to get out of line of sight. But overtime is ticking down, and Gesture was there with the whole hook, but it's not enough to stop the Shock. Big biotic grenade. A huge one from Creative. I can't believe he's come back and managed to take this over. The underplay is filthy, and the Dynasty get a second map. This is a match.